Y'all, I done came to my little spot. So this is gonna be an interesting. I hope y'all doing well. This is gonna be a very interesting uh, podcast, the Sibyl Talk podcast, y'all. It's gonna be very interesting because I'm gonna do it in the form of how the mothers used to teach back in the day, where you could just come over to their home at any time, ask questions, and they either be in the kitchen cooking or cleaning up, or maybe they would be sewing something or um, anything, cleaning the yard up, gardening. And I really want to start incorporating that into a lot of my share time, I call it. And definitely I want to bring back the Simple Talk podcast for that reason, because I want to start just kind of getting into that type of, how do you want to say, that forum, that particular, or maybe I want to say that this atmosphere. And the reason why is because I feel like, as an elder of the community, I hope y'all can hear me well. Hope it's, I mean, I'm just actually just starting out. I don't know how many people saw that we were going to do this particular live this evening. But anyway, I don't know if there's anyone in here to tell me if they can hear me or whatever. But since I'm just starting, sometimes it takes a little time for people to get in here. But yeah, I hope that's straight now. Yeah, it is straight. Okay, so this is the Simple Talk podcast. First of all, let's do some station identification. And you're with yours truly here, HPMaven. Let me see what other we can put on here. Let me see if I need anything else. Uh, I'm looking at it. Okay. Yeah. So we're doing good. But what I want to say is that I wanted to actually get into the position of starting to share from a perspective of just me, just being who I am. I know that there are different people who see you with a name as High Priestess or whatever the case might be, and you think, oh, this is just some person who just floats in the realm all the time. No, that's not how it goes. That's not it at all. I would say more so, the reason why I want to be candid about the position of being a high priestess is because I feel like many people are starting to really get this walk. They're starting to hear the downloads, hear the streams, if you want to put it that way. And now that the guard is changing, in my opinion, I feel like those who are hold my particular position can share a lot of what was considered to be quote unquote secrets. Okay, so the secrets of the priest class, if you want to say that, or the priest craft, those who consider to be priests or priestesses, like myself, and what that means. Because I really do believe, and I'm actually able to put my fingers on the pulse of the community, the sacred community, and I'm seeing that a lot of people are sharing that they were, and this is going to be a touchy subject, and I already put the disclaimer in the description for the Simple Talk podcast, for this particular share. But I feel that a lot of people are sharing that they were abused within a lot of the religious sects and congregations and the like, mosques and such. And I'm hearing this a lot, and I don't want to discredit that at all. Not by any stretch of the imagination do I want to discredit that. But I do want to send out, a heartfelt, um, I don't want to say apology, because I never participated in anything like that, and that's all honesty. I've never abused a child. I've never abused another sister or brother, for that matter. Um, Anyone, an elder, anyone. So I can't even begin to explain why anyone who is entrusted with a soul would abuse anyone. I can't explain it. So I won't I will not be able to speak to that at all, honestly. Let me pull this mic right here. I don't think I need to move it like that. Um, Hi, honey. But I'm on here with a heartfelt discussion because I want to make sure that as I come into this position of sharing so many things that I feel that some would think are secrets of the priestcraft, and I know a lot of people that hold my position feel, what is she doing? Why is she sharing things? And I'm doing this because I hear a lot of people saying that they have been abused. And I know that the many people aren't speaking for everyone in the world because just hear me out. A lot of people are saying that they have been abused within the religious organizations. And the religious organizations, in my opinion, were held responsible for people in general, each being. Okay. And as I'm saying this, please forgive me as I tear up if I start tearing up, because I'm thinking about the fact that someone could be in charge of a soul or a life or a being, and they can start to abuse that being, especially children. I will never understand that. I will never get that. I'm just going to tell you, and let me straighten this up a bit because I got to make sure I'm on here good. But I got to tell you that I've never really got that. And to be a part of a priest class, the priest craft as a priestess, and you hear these things, you might even go into discussions with your fellow parishioners and as well as those who hold office with you within whatever your sect is, or your congregation or mosque or temple, in my case. But I tell you one thing that I do know, that when we discuss these things, sometimes people push away. They push away and they say, well, it wasn't me, or whatever the case was. But I really feel that it should be addressed nowadays. I feel like someone should come out and start saying, you know what? This is what I heard. I offer an apology. And again, I never did anything personally. And all this is in sincere honesty. And I'm only talking about it because as people have come to me, confided in me, the level and number of people, the level of abuse that I've heard about, the number of people that I've heard explain to me and express to me, I don't want to trust people in any type of religion because I've been abused. It is this. To me, it's just it's unimaginable as to how anyone can erase anything like that for a person. You can't. You can counsel them. Hello, everyone. I just want to say hi to those who have said hi. Um, Hi to you. I hope this particular topic is relevant because I'm going to get back into what I shared earlier today. But I just want to come as, as mama on the couch and talk to everyone just about some things that were on my spirit and in my mind about you, and you. And it might not be you in particular, but who has had these experiences. I just feel the need to talk about. I just want to be mama on the couch, y'all. This is where the podcast is coming from. This is the new where you just actually get on a couch or get in a ring somewhere where you can just show yourself and just talk. And that's what I want to do today. But thank you so much for stopping by. Again, it's just mama on the couch. We're going to put priestess titles to the side tonight. And if you're watching this in the day or afternoon, whatever this video finds you. But it's my evening time, y'all. I told you I like to come in after my day is over and kind of like have some chit chat. Okay. But this topic fell on my heart because I know, listen to the number of people who have been abused within religious organizations. Okay. So what I feel at this time is we should have discussions about it. And you don't have to share anything, but I do feel like I want to be one of the ones who would come as one who holds office within the priesthood, the priestcraft, the priest class, as we call it. And being a part of a temple at one point. Right now, I'm more sovereign. I'm not with any particular sect or organization. I am sovereign. I'm by myself, and I work in the community at large, as they say. The lone spiritist, and Priestess, and I just kind of go out to the, as my mom did before me, the highways and the hedges, and the brush arbors as well, and I help people that way in the community, carrying along my sacred special staff, and this is my connection to nature. I always have to have a connection to nature, but that's how I roll lately. Okay, bring it in, as the young folks say. That's how I roll. But in essence, I have heard about the abuse that a lot of people have experienced. Those who have counseled, and I just want to say at this point, a special, heartfelt, sincere, very sincere, um, sign of empathy. I don't want to say I apologize, because I've never hurt anyone within my position, or outside of it as well. But as a priestess, I've never hurt anyone. I've never abused anyone. So I just don't really get how that even works, how a person can have that on them. I have ideas, because I do know how that works when people are in positions of authority and they abuse that authority. I've heard of it. I have not seen anyone personally, but I've talked to enough people to realize that yes, it is true, and I've had fingers pointed at certain people, and then seeing those people removed. But I don't think enough people are being called out. I think what happens to the victim is they become embarrassed, and they don't want to tell what's going on. And then sometimes they tell what's going on, and then they're not heard. So that becomes a factor as well. So with that being said, I'm gonna reel this in. I just want to say that from my heart to everyone else's heart, that would be a part of this. Whoever had if you've ever had an experience where you've been abused within religious orders, or even spiritual orders for that matter, from my heart to yours, I just say on behalf of the cosmic realm, we just put you before that particular space, the space of comfort, of love, of care. And we send that petition out, that you be comforted, that you find the counsel that you need. And if not outside of yourself, inside of yourself. And that's really a large part of my mission right now, I feel. A large part of my mission is to help people to reconnect with their own soul essence, so that they are not in the position of being victimized by anyone anymore. I do feel like many people who have experienced abuse within religious orders and spiritual care that was supposed to be care, quote unquote, have experienced abuse, is because they've left themselves vulnerable to those who were supposed to be caring for them. But what my mission is right now is to share as much of my knowledge, to help and enhance those who are here at this point on the timeline for such a time as this. And what time am I referring to? I believe that the reason why so many churches, mosques, temples as well, certain congregations are now falling is because of the abuse of the soul that might have been experienced through the years. And now, because what I call the cosmic hall of justice is now answering to the petitions from the lone people out there in the world, the lone souls who have experienced any type of abuse within religious orders. I believe that the cosmos and the cosmic hall of justice is now making that particular determination that these particular religious organizations now be stopped. And that's why so many churches are now disbanded and they're being taken apart. Now, granted, I must put a disclaimer out there. The ones who are not a part of this, obviously this is not a subject or topic for you. We're not pointing fingers at you. We're not making a blanket statement at all. On behalf of this particular platform, the BMH Society, as well as BMH platform, and its entities, business entities. We're not making a blanket statement. We're saying to those who would be considered the ones being abused, the abusers, because this is not just something that I've made up. I'm a counselor in the community, and I'm hearing a whole lot of people coming to me personally as I go into the community and talking about abuse from prior connection to various religious organizations and spiritual congregations as well, from spiritual societies. So I'm not making up anything. I'm just saying that I want to come on behalf of those who are considered to be in the priest class, the priest craft, and just saying that I send out personally a heartfelt connection and empathy right now, and sympathy. I would say more so sympathy, because empathy, because I have not been abused, and I know it's hard to believe sometimes when a certain person my age, almost 6 decades in the game, I have never been physically abused within any of my connections with spiritual organizations or religions. I just have not had that experience. But I can say that I have had enough people come to me and they say, Priestess, this happened, that happened. And I sit as a listening ear without judgment, and I let them get this out. But my mission became, now I'm going to tell you what happened to me. As I continued to hear this, I said, I need to help people, especially at this point on the timeline, learn how to govern their own soul. I feel that because so many people have come to me as priestess counselor, as priestess mama in the community, and talked about this abuse, and I just can't even get into the children, the number of children that have been abused that I know about. I don't even want to go there. But this conversation has to be had, and it has had to be had. People have had to have it for many, many years, and they have not. So I feel like now that many things are coming to the surface, most things have to come to the light. Okay, now I say most things because some things we don't really share at this point. We have to wait for the perfect timing. But most things have to come to the light right now. But the closing of a lot of the churches, a lot of the mosques, a lot of the temples, a lot of the religious organizations, I believe that it's happening right now because of cosmic restitution for those who have been wronged and harmed. And now I just put a smile on my face that they are in safety because of the great source of all living, the great mama and papa of the cosmos is now saying, okay, what? Sustained. We must now close many of the different mosques and temples and churches. And now we're going to have people go back to the original ways. And that's where this is leading. That's where this podcast, the Sibyl Talk podcast, is here to help those who feel that they are ready. Now, this is the point when we start going through the gateway, y'all, and I start sharing priestcraft information for you to use. And I'm seeing enough people out there. I'm watching the different channels out here. Now, I know I'm not godmama to everyone, but I'm godmama to many. And I'm watching the channels, and I'm seeing a lot of people are ready to come to this next level. So I feel like at this juncture, all the information that I've received, and I know I can share it. Y'all ready? I think you're ready. And this abuse thing, it'll be a thing of the past if you knew a lot of the things that we know. And I feel that it was being held from people for a long time because people wanted. I'm going to be honest with you. I sat and thought about this, and I sent this petition to my soul guides and my spirit team. I'm like, what was it with us having like congregations? And at one point, I believe that it was elitist, an elitist mentality. Oh, we got the information. Y'all can't have it. We know this, we know that. And then where did it lead? It led a lot of people down the slippery slope of being abused by those who were supposed to be caring for them. So not on my watch. Okay, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, not on my watch. Y'all know I have a video where I'm kind of going off a little bit because every time I think about anyone abusing a soul, that sends me to another level. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm gonna get a little human for a minute. I left Chicago a long time ago, and I'm gonna tell you, I was born in Chicago. I was raised in Chicagoland. I was born in Chicago at the age of 5. I went to the suburbs, but I'm gonna tell y'all right now, a lot of my Chicago style coming out. I get like Brother Smoke on the movie Sinners when I'm thinking about people abusing those whom I love. I just can't take it. It's just like some snap, and I'm like, wait a minute. And when I'm sitting in these counseling sessions, I'm going between priestess and gangster priestess. I'm just honest, you know. So my point is, I think that it's really time that a lot of people know what we know as far as like spiritual work, how to discern, how to use divination, how, you know, all the stuff that we know that has been held from people. I think it's time that people learn these type of things for themselves. And it's nothing like the first line of defense, which is yourself, you know, and connection with information that'll help you, you know. And because the congregations have now closed, many of them have closed, and this is nothing against the ones who are still going well. I got to keep putting that out there because I came through some great spiritual communities. I really did. Some great spiritual communities. I'm talking about top notch, top level. And you know, I'm not saying that there were no abusers in there, because I know that there were people who could come in, you know, sneak in through the gates. You never know. And it's not even about that. Some people just turn on you. You know, when we're dealing with spiritual warfare, that's something that's a constant work. It's constant. That's another level of priesthood that you learn. You never can just say, "Oh, I'm good for life." We always are dealing with principalities, spiritual wickedness in high places of the mind and in the cosmos. I don't want to get preachy on you, but this is a serious walk. You have to constantly gird yourself up, and that just means protect your mind, your body, your spirit, your soul, your heart. And some people fall by the wayside, and then they might become abusers. But I grew up in a very, very strong from a foundation that was very strong, growing up under priests and priestesses and being able to. But that was old school, y'all. And I don't know about new school, and because I haven't been out in the congregations, but the people that I am counseling out in the community, what they're sharing with me it just breaks my heart. And I want to gird up people. And I'm telling you, this particular ministry, I'm gonna call it a ministry, that I am now on the quest to share. This is something, I got my little books here, y'all, because I told y'all this Mama on the Couch. This is God Mama on the Couch. This is how I learned. Besides being in a congregation, you can go to your mother, your grandmama, your godmother, your auntie, the women of the community. At any time, you just come knock on their door. We were in a whole village. Actually, I grew up in the village of Maywood. Hope y'all can hear me good. I hope I'm not jumbling around too much. But I grew up in the village of Maywood. It's a suburb of Chicago. I don't know how many people know about the village of Maywood. And all black, it was pretty much an all black community. Houses were owned by black folk, working class black folk, professionals, doctors, lawyers, and then your local, those sanitation workers, factory workers. We had artisans as well, musicians, you know, you name it. It's a western suburb of Chicago. And I grew up in that community, and there were so many people that were a part of building us and molding us. And now we have people who are, they've gone to the highest levels of education, and some people who didn't make it. But I feel like I've had enough information and shared, and being in a congregation as well with a lot of strong minds, strong people in the movement for, the village, the tribe, the tribe, clan, nation, I like to call it. And a lot of people who come from foundational Black Americans, they come from First Nations as well. They come from the Creole community. So it's a well-rounded group of folk who help to mold me and help me to be all that I can be. Am I perfect? No, I'm not perfect. And but I've never abused a child. You know, because I know people will bring that to you, and I'm gonna stop you right now, because a lot of times you start stepping on toes when you talk about these subjects. You know, people who might have abused a child or who abuse it in those congregations, they'll try to come for you. But I'm tell you, oh no, I'm not perfect. I'm not speaking to anyone in particular on this, but I'm just saying I feel that energy rising when people do something wrong and you start calling them out. No, I'm not perfect, but I've never abused a child, a baby. I've never abused anyone in my spiritual counsel. I've never abused anyone. So don't try to come for me, y'all. I'm telling y'all, I want to stay in a priestess position, but don't try to come for me. Y'all y'all don't know I'm a discerner. I can tell when people start pointing the finger when you calling out things. And that's one thing too. I don't want to seem like I'm all over the place, but this just came to my spirit, y'all. But that's one thing too. When you get to the place where you start pointing at people when they doing wrong, then they try to come for you. Well, you think you perfect, you think you whatever. My usually my rebuttal is, and I have an advantage that's a little bit that maybe that they don't know about, but I'm a discerner, so I can look at them and then I'll just start seeing stuff. And then when spirits say I can do it, I'll do it. It depends on if it's a spiritual defense going on. If it's spiritual defense and you coming for me and I done called you out and I know about you abuse, let's say you abuse a child, and then I already put a disclaimer on my video because I'm gonna tell y'all the gangster Chicago priestess come out when I hear about people abusing children, abusing anyone, the sisters especially. I've heard different stories, but abusing children. And then you come try to, that's one thing when in the priest class, if you start calling out people, then they start pointing the finger, talking about, well, you're not perfect and this and that and the other. I would tell them in a minute, especially if I read them. Okay, I'm not perfect. Okay, maybe it's a few things that I didn't do right. Maybe I shouldn't have had that extra bag of cookies this week. But one thing I didn't do is abuse a child. I'll look them straight in their eyes. Then of course the eyes divert. Okay, because one thing is, and I learned this in spiritual warfare, and I'm gonna give this 2 more minutes, and we're gonna get off of this because I know my spirit just kind of started bubbling up with this. But one thing I learned in spiritual warfare, and being a priestess, there's different levels of initiation you go through. One thing with my spiritual warfare training. A very, very powerful spiritual Sibyl showed me one thing that I've never forgotten in this defense, because I'm becoming transparent and teaching a lot of things. But in my spiritual warfare initiation, I was shown how to see a spirit and call the spirit out. Because one thing I'm going to say about these particular entities that will blow in a body, I like to say, and take a body over that wasn't on their spiritual defense. One thing about these particular beings, when they're getting taken over by certain entities, whether it's being a entity that's mounted, housed, or just riding spirits, they don't like you to call them out. And I learned this from a serious spiritual warrior. She showed me directly. Now, how this initiation works is you actually will follow a spiritist in my priestess training. You actually are, this is old school, y'all, and I don't know a lot of this is going on, but you actually get to sit at the feet, we would call it, of a particular spiritist, someone who is already trained and who has the experience in certain areas of the priest class. Okay. And this particular spiritual warrior, she showed me, and she helped me to see an entity that had inhabited a body of a young man. And this young man was in the spirit, and we both seen it, right? He had this spirit riding him. And she told me to step back. And she started, and when there's a sign you do to let a person know this is an experience. So we did the sign, and I'm like, well, I have to watch. I have to now be very cognizant of what's going on. And she told that spirit, I see you for who you are, and you're not welcome. And then she went through the different, it's various parts. So this is not an initiation by any stretch of the imagination. I always have to put that disclaimer out there. This is not a recruitment. I'm just sharing an experience. This is a testimonial. But at that point in my training, in my initiation, when she gave me the sign that this was happening, and she said those words, the young man, then the spirit then dropped from the young man. Okay. And he said, "Oh, what are you talking about?" Okay. So now this is sensitive. I already put the disclaimer on this particular video, but this is real out here in these spiritual streets, y'all. Okay. And I feel like it's time to start helping people to help themselves. Like I started saying, and this is something that fell on me. My soul guides and my spirit team already said, you need to start sharing what you learned. You're not initiating, you're giving testimonies. Because now, at this point on the timeline, let me share something with y'all what Spirit showed me. At this point on the timeline, I was shown that people are ready. Okay, the kinfolk and the folk out here, y'all ready. So the things I share, I don't even have to really give much information. I just have to share it the way the Spirit is showing me. And I like to give visuals and handouts. So my website at BibleMagic8.com, that's BIBLE Magic, MAGICK with a K, 8, the numeral 8.com. I start putting PDFs on there because I want to start giving visuals, because everything I had coming through my initiation had visuals. Okay. So I want to give visuals as well. But the thing about it is that this is real out here in these spiritual streets. And I'm sharing that to share when you're in a priest class and you've heard that your particular whoever has done something wrong to someone, a child, for instance, and you bring this to them, that spirit will stand up against you. And people try to get an overstanding and an understanding and an understanding of what happens. Why are the people in there? Why they won't do anything? Because a lot of people are dealing with, and I'm not trying to give anyone any excuses, because that ain't the whole devil made me do it type of experience. No, I'm not trying to say that at all. I'm just saying that sometimes you can see as a spiritist that this person has a spirit that has mounted them, housed them, or they're riding on them because they have let their guards down. And this is a serious thing. So then they'll start pushing back at you. And if a person is not every priestess, not everyone who works within this particular, the priestcraft, not everyone is actually been initiated or trained in spiritual warfare. So you have to call in someone who is, if you see it. If someone's being a little strange, other than a medical advice, because, of course, you're going to tell them, of course, that you see your doctors and so on and so forth, those who experience, especially those who are very experienced, and they call it paranormal now, but it's more so, just spiritual warfare. That's what we say in the community. But what paranormal activity, that's what you're going to see or hear in the secular world. But for the most part, you try to get someone some help. But in essence, in the long haul, and when you think about the old school, you're gonna have to get some spiritual warfare going on. So reeling it back in, I don't know what this just fell on me tonight. So y'all just, and whenever you listen to me, just hang in here with me. But I want again, let me try to reel this back in again, because when I get to think about this and how it's been coming to me, people have been saying things about this. It's been a challenge for me to just let it go. I'm serious. It's been a challenge. But I gave it enough time. We're going to go ahead and just reel this back in and just send out petitions of spiritual connection and sympathy to these folks who have experienced this. I'm not sharing any names, so anyone who is on here who have shared things, no, I will never share anything. Anything that's between me and anyone I'm counseling is very private. So, but I will share overall general experience, and just for the general population, so that they can, if they're experiencing these things, we can also send out our love to them as well. Okay. So we say Ashe to you, Ayibabo, and Amen. Please do seek help and counsel, and we'll leave that there. All right. Thank you for that time. I spent about 35 minutes almost on that because it meant just that much to me. So again, it's Mama on the couch, y'all. I'm in the priestess position, as well, but I want to kind of reel this back in. I'm going to do a little sharing right now, and I'm not going to be too long before you. I want to go ahead and do a classes in session, ring for the bell, and then we say Ashe. Give us some little taps here uh, with our ancestral bloodline. Wood, and I'm going to get to the point where I can share a little bit with you because I need people to be girded up for such a time as this, because this spiritual street's going to get a little bit more turbulent, and they're going to be good as well. I feel that, we're going between the worlds. Joy and pain, is like sunshine and rain. You just have to be prepared. And the things that I want to share have to do with what I talked about in our podcast earlier. This is the Sibyl Talk podcast. I like these new podcasts, y'all, where you can just kind of sit, relax somewhere, and just kind of talk about things that are important to your community. And the things that I want to talk about from the Sibyl Talk podcast is that, again, this is a platform dedicated to the Sibyls, the mothers. Those are the mothers, the godmothers, the aunties, the grandmothers as well, the sisters. Of course, we say the sea stars as well, if we pronounce it in the old to new world language. But I said I was going to explain a lot of different things that I talked about in our Royal Rising podcast earlier today, because I want to start giving the connection to our zodiacal energies on a daily basis during the 40 God days of summer. And I said I was going to explain that to y'all. And I spell the word days sometimes D as in David, A-Y-S, as well as D as in David, A-I. And what a days is a ladder. Okay. And a lot of the ancient scriptures you'll hear, or I don't like to say scriptures, I'm sorry, y'all, it's just a habit. But the ancient text, you will hear people say that there is a ladder to heaven in a particular scripture in what's considered, or here I go again, a particular ancient text that from the Old Testament as it's known, a ladder to heaven. That's also considered a days. So when we talk about ladders and the days, I like to say days of the week because we're thinking about it as a ladder and not a linear, but more so the connection between spirit and physical constantly going through the days. D-A-I-S, and it's a ladder. So if in this particular ladder, this is ancient beliefs, y'all. This is nothing I'm making up, but you go from the earth, and then as the planets ascend, that's the days, and that's why you will have even the days of the week, as we know it, are named after specific planets. So this is an ancient belief system. And I mentioned that, and they talk about the 40 days of the dog days of summer. And what I wanted to share is that the dog days is not actually dog, as in D-O-G. This is something that is a reversing of the original people of the earth. I also want to say the First Nations. Changing of their belief systems. And when we say God, that's a general term. Usually God has a name, a specific name is assigned to certain Orisha, Loa. If you want to say the source of all living has a certain specific name in different religious sects. However, many of our beliefs from our ancients, the ancient bloodlines, if you want to call them the First Nations as well, have been reversed within what I call, this is my own thing, y'all. I'm gonna go between telling you what's my thing, what I interpret spiritually, and then what is general knowledge or should be at any rate. But my thing is, I believe that they're between 1492, and that's when they say Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And I'm not even gonna continue that because y'all. We're not going to go there. But in 1492, I have termed that particular era, the starting there on that point on the timeline, as I said earlier, the great disruption. It's nothing great about it from our perspective as original people. But I want to call it the big disruption of spirituality. Okay. So in that big disruption, there was a lot of reversing of meanings of spiritual rituals, spiritual rite tools, spiritual words and communication, the language, all of those particular paths of spirituality that we practice have been either discontinued, reversed in meaning, specific words have been reversed, practices have been skewed, erased, or attempted to be. But then there was the remnant of people, the remnant who held on, the remnant who can be considered the maroons, you might want to call it the castaways, the outcasts, the outlanders, people like that who held on to these ancient ways. And when we think about the spiritual beliefs of the originals, I want to call them the originals. We can even call them the First Nations. I like to use that a lot. I don't like using the word indigenous because indigenous to me, the base of that is indigent. So I don't like using that. So I'll usually say the First Nations, the original people of the lands, and I'm talking globally. These words that they used were changed, skewed, and so on and so forth. So when you think about the word dog, D-O-G, days of summer, I believe that to be a negative epithet against the people, the original people who even, who used the different spiritual paths that were changed. Okay, who even had the knowledge, the legacy, the heritage, history, and culture from that particular time frame, that point on the timeline in 1492. They were the ones who had these particular paths of spirituality, and the words that they used were changed so that it can be erased from memory. Okay, I think about the movie The Men in Black, when they would put that little thing in front of you and snap and flash and erase your memory. I can see that sometimes it's happening to our people, happening to the original people. So when you think about dog, and then we say God, and then people will say, oh, the word God is turned backwards. It's dog, means dog. I believe that was connected in a way to have a negative epithet, a negative, disparaging word to use against certain original people. That's my own belief. So what we do is, and what we're doing right now, based on from the time point of what I'm calling the big disruption of spirituality, we're going into the archives and we're going into different memories. This is genetic memory, down the cosmic streams, I'm calling it, of information that comes in to me as a messenger from the spirit realm. The different streams of information is that we're going to start we're going to return certain words, certain meanings back to their original intent, and that way we'll have a point of reference. So the word dog, as in the 40 dog days of summer, to me, we're reversing that. We're going to have to reverse that, and we're going to make that the God days. And when we say God, that's a general term. I'm only using God because I know there's different languages, but God is a general term that we know, especially in North America, as the supreme source. And then it only gives it a masculine representation, masculine divinity, and that's masculinity. I've reintroduced the feminine representation. So feminine divine source would be femininity. And that's the belief that our original First Nations had within my bloodline, is that there is a mother and a father cosmic source that we would see as the creation essence, okay, the essence of creation. So we're reversing the dog days of summer, and we're making that back to the God days of summer, the goddess days of summer. And this is relevant because let's get to this fact. The reason why we want to actually change that back to its original meaning is because that's when we get our supreme downloads, as people are saying. We get supreme downloads. We get supreme streams. channels, connection, tapping in spirit, outpouring, especially with all the cosmic activity. And of course, the most powerful part of it is the heliacal, some people say heliacal rising, and the connection of the Sirius star system, what's called the Sirius star system, which they call the dog star. So Sirius, Sirius star system. And a lot of people don't know that there's 3 important stars within that system, because there's one, like the dwarf star, it kind of disappears sometimes. But the way that the ancients believed in that star system is that it represents the mother, the father, and the child, whether that be a boy child or a female child, okay, boy or girl child. So, and the reason why we want to have this particular connection is because we want to make sure that we are getting the extreme spiritual superpower. I'm going to have to go there, y'all. The superpower that we need during this time. So to be aware of it is where we need to be in order for us to get all that we need right now to tap that particular resource of the cosmos. And it is vast too. It's a vast resource for us right now, especially with all the cosmic activities. I want you to be able to tie into the houses of the zodiac. And that's why I brought that up today, earlier today. And this is just a recap, y'all. The houses of the zodiac, because a lot of people don't talk about the houses, because and the reason why I feel that, and again, I'm sharing priest class information, priestcraft information. I want people to know this so that they're not being falling victim to certain compromising situations, because I'm going to tell you, it was a point on the timeline when this was, hush hush, and not a lot was going on. Possibly, I feel like it was a lot, but a lot of people didn't want to get into it. But now it's coming to the surface more so. But I will say this: at this point, the abuse to me is going to continue. I feel like it's going to continue. And the biggest thing for us to do, I feel like, is to make sure that we don't fall victim by being as knowledgeable as possible. So as I'm sharing priest class information, priestcraft information, I think that it's definitely a time when people can start tapping their own resources and using the cosmic fields to do so. Okay. So give me a sec. I'm going to have to come back. I'm going to pause for station identification because I have some more stuff for y'all. But right now, let me pause for station identification, and then I'll be able to come back and kind of share some more resources with you. All right. You're listening to the Sibyl Talk podcast, and we're going to have more for you, definitely. Because I had to get into a certain thing that was called in my spirit earlier. But thank you for tuning in. I have something I want to be more. So I want to put it in an outline to have you download. And then we're going to talk about it. I think it's just going to be more helpful. Okay. All right. Thank y'all so much. And I wanted to at least hit home about the dog star. It is a god star, a goddess star. Okay. Love y'all. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk soon. Peace.